Marriage is starting this week in Florida, so why are our opponents still saying that it's not? We'll take a look at what's really going on and how they're still trying to stop the weddings. Also this week, oral argument in Louisiana could get pretty heated, another Supreme Court conference, and some surprising polling. For the American Foundation for Equal Rights, I'm Matt Baum, and welcome to Marriage News Watch for January 5th, 2015. After a lot of confusion, the picture's finally clearing up in Florida, and it's looking pretty good. Last week, U.S. District Judge Robert Hinkle issued a ruling that basically boils down to 2 points. His injunction doesn't require the state's clerks to issue marriage licenses, but the U.S. Constitution does. In other words, marriage will start on January 6th in Florida. But amazingly, a couple of anti-gay groups are calling this a victory for their side, still claiming that marriage won't start this week. Depending on who you listen to, they're saying that the judge has no authority, or the marriages should only be happening in one county, or only the couples who sued should be able to get married. If that all sounds too weird to be true, it's probably because it isn't true. They're wrong. Marriage starts on Tuesday of this week. Congratulations, Florida. But it doesn't end here. There are still a bunch of Florida marriage cases waiting to be heard in both state and federal court. Although the schedule's murky, the next ruling could be in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. It's possible that the 11th Circuit could reverse Judge Hinkle's ruling, and then marriages might have to stop, but that's also pretty unlikely. Last month, the 11th Circuit and the U.S. Supreme Court both allowed marriages to start in Florida, which is a pretty good indication that they expect to uphold the freedom to marry. But even if things go great, Florida could still have a bumpy transition to marriage equality. A few counties are still doing what little they can to make life difficult for LGBTs. Over a dozen offices have decided to stop conducting courthouse marriages for everyone, rather than allow them for gay and lesbian couples. You can still get your license and take it somewhere else to have a wedding. Those clerks just don't want to have to see you get married, which is a very nice message to send to someone on their wedding day. There's going to be big news on Friday of this week. First, the U.S. Supreme Court will meet to decide whether to take up a marriage case from the 6th Circuit in its current term. We won't know their decision right away, but we could find out next week or shortly thereafter. Also on Friday, the 5th Circuit will hear oral argument in the long-awaited cases from Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. The 3 judges assigned to that panel are an interesting mix. Judge James Graves Jr. is a relatively recent Obama nominee, Patrick Higginbottom is a Reagan nominee but calls himself left of center, and Judge Jerry Smith is a super outspoken conservative, so there could be some very fiery rhetoric during that oral argument. A new survey in Nebraska shows that unlike every other state, support for marriage really hasn't changed over the last couple of years. From 2011 to today, attitudes haven't shifted much statewide, with opposition hovering a little higher than support year after year. There's a hearing in a Nebraska lawsuit at the end of this month, and higher levels of public support would have been helpful for that lawsuit, since it indicates to judges that they're not getting out too far in front of public support. So we'll just have to see what happens with this new Nebraska lawsuit. You can subscribe here on YouTube to stay up to date on all these stories. For the American Foundation for Equal Rights, I'm Matt Baum. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.